Before we begin, a quick warning. Tennessee True Crime contains detailed descriptions and images of real-life violence. Some listeners and viewers may find the material deeply disturbing. This content is intended for mature audiences only. And remember, the goal of sharing these stories is not to sensationalize tragedy, but to honor the victims, understand the truth, and give voice to those who can no longer speak for themselves. Listener discretion is advised. The show opening is brought to you by Namaste Wellness and Aesthetics. Visit Namaste for all of your skincare, weight loss, and primary care needs. The awesome ladies at Namaste are located right here at 159 Omni Drive in McMinnville, Tennessee. Now, on to the story. Tucked into the Appalachian Mountains of East Tennessee, Mountain City life has a rhythm that feels familiar in a way that's hard to explain if you didn't grow up around it. The kind of place where mornings start slow, where front porches aren't just for decoration, and where people wave when they pass you on the road, even if they don't know your name. It's the sound of gravel under tires, Friday night lights in the distance, neighbors who check in, not because they have to, but because that's just what you do. There's comfort in that kind of place. A sense that things stay the same. The people are who they say they are, that what you see is real. But somewhere along the way, the world got bigger. Not physically, but digitally. Because now, even in the quietest towns, you're not just connected to the people around you. You're connected to everyone. And not every voice comes with a face. And not every message comes with context. Not every warning comes from someone real. Social media gave people a way to reach each other instantly, to share, to connect, to be heard. But it also gave something else, the ability to create, to shape perception, to build trust without ever being seen. And that's where things start to shift. Because in a place where people are used to believing what they're told, used to trusting what feels familiar, it doesn't take much for something online to feel just as real as something right in front of you. And sometimes what starts as just a message doesn't stay that way. This is the case of Billy Payne and Billie Jean Hayworth. They say the South never forgets. And Tennessee, she remembers everything. Welcome to Tennessee True Crime, where the shadows of the volunteer state's past meet the stories that refuse to be forgotten. I'm your host, Tiffany Morgan. Each week, we dig into twisted tales of betrayal, violence, and mystery, the ones where whispers carry truth and the answers are never as simple as they seem. Let's step into the dark and piece together the clues. Because in Tennessee, some secrets still haunt the hills. This is Tennessee True Crime.
Down through the smoky hollers where the cold wind sighs, footsteps fall where the moonlight hides, whispers over rivers, a secret lost in time. Welcome to Tennessee True Crime.
In Johnson County, nothing about this story started violently. There were no physical fights, just messages, a Facebook feud, different usernames, different accounts, all speaking with authority. The messages built slowly. They were targeted. All of this over a man, it seems, Billy Payne. Now, he was engaged at this point to Billie Jean Hayworth. They had a child, a life, a normal one by all accounts. Billy was a local in town. He was friendly with everyone. He worked at the cotton mill and enjoyed rock climbing from time to time, and it was there that he met a timid and very sheltered woman in her 20s named Janelle Potter. Janelle lived with her parents, Barbara Potter and Marvin Potter, who was known as Buddy. They lived a life that many outsiders would later describe as unusually controlled, almost sealed off from the world around them. Now, by multiple accounts, Janelle, even as an adult, was not allowed the kind of independence that most people take for granted. Her movements were closely monitored, her interactions with others were very limited, and much of her social life existed only within the confines of her own home, really. That control extended into nearly every form of communication. She did not have access to a phone that wasn't monitored, and investigators later learned that her parents even had access to her Facebook password, allowing them to read and track her messages. Even her online world, often seen as a place of freedom or anonymity, was not entirely her own. Now, what stands out isn't just that the household was strict, it's how deeply enmeshed they appeared to be. The boundaries between parent and adult child seemed blurred, with control extending into areas of Janelle's personal and emotional life that, in a way, felt to many observers very unsettling. It created an environment where reality and perception and outside influence could become distorted, and that is something that would later play a critical role in how these events unfolded. Now, by multiple accounts, Janelle had earlier developed an interest in Billy Payne, but that interest wasn't returned, and eventually, again, he moved in with Billie Jean. They got pregnant, they were engaged to be married. Now, Billie Jean in particular made it very clear that she was not welcoming any outside interference, even though Janelle had what others say was a massive crush on Billy. And then, cue the social media drama. Janelle claimed that she was being bullied online, targeted, mocked, and harassed through messages and posts, people calling her a loser, some people saying she was ugly, things like that. So investigators would later find that many of these claims where she said she was being bullied online, they were very hard to verify. And in some cases, they were tied back to accounts and interactions that painted a much more complicated and troubling picture. What emerges is a very volatile mix: unreturned affection, perceived rejection, and a growing belief that she was being wronged and humiliated in a very public, very personal way. In the closed world that Janelle lived in, those feelings didn't dissipate, they intensified. And online, where emotions can spiral quickly and reality can blur, that tension only continued to build. Now, somewhere in the middle of all this, Janelle Potter was introduced to a man named Jamie Curd, a relationship that, on the surface, seemed like it might offer her a sense of independence that she had never really had. Jamie quickly became an important figure in her life. Unlike the tightly controlled environment at home, this relationship gave Janelle a connection that existed outside of her parents' constant oversight. One of the most notable shifts came when Jamie got her a cell phone, something that up until that point had been heavily restricted and monitored within her household. And that phone represented more than just a way for her to communicate. It gave Janelle a private line to the outside world, conversations that weren't immediately filtered or observed, and for someone who had lived under such close supervision, even a small amount of privacy could feel very significant. But instead of grounding her, this new access seemed to deepen the situation she was already entangled in on social media. The same online conflicts, the same emotional tensions, they didn't go away. If anything, they had more space to grow, less visible, and even less contained than they were before. So Janelle's parents meet Jamie and become family friends with him. But get this, they don't meet him as Janelle's boyfriend. No, that is still not allowed. They meet him only as the guy who fixes their computers. So, still unable to live her life, Janelle becomes more and more enmeshed in a world of social media. This back and forth with Janelle and her social media bullies, as they're calling them, becomes the drama of the city until a friend of Billy and Billie Jean's go by their house and find their back door wide open. This friend will never forget what she found when she goes inside.
Johnson County 911.
Honey, I need an ambulance bad. There's a baby involved. He don't look right. He's in one room, she's in the other, right at the playpen. It kind of looks like she's trying to get to her baby. You can tell by looking down their faces. They're swelled, they're black and blue. They should be.
Okay, do you want to attempt to do CPR?
They're both dead. It's too late.
Now, when authorities arrived at the home of Billy Payne and Billie Jean Hayworth, they were met with a scene that immediately indicated targeted violence. Both victims were found inside the residence, having been shot multiple times. According to investigative reports and trial testimony, the gunfire was deliberate and close range, leaving little question that this was not random. Billy Payne sustained multiple gunshot wounds, including fatal injuries that caused him to collapse inside the home. Billie Jean Hayworth was also shot multiple times and died from her injuries at the scene. Now, the positioning of the victims and the nature of their wounds suggested that they were caught off guard, with very little opportunity to react or defend themselves at all. But there were no signs of forced entry consistent with burglary or anything of that nature, reinforcing early suspicions that this was a targeted attack rather than a random act of violence. According to the gravity of the scene, the couple's young child was found alive in the home, unharmed, but present in the immediate aftermath of the shootings. The brutality of the injuries, combined with the setting, made it clear to investigators from the beginning that this was intentional, and whoever carried it out came there with purpose. So in a town of 2,500 people, it doesn't take very long to narrow down suspects. They start with Jamie, Janelle's boyfriend, even though they still refuse to acknowledge that they're a couple. Police bring him in and not only speak with him, but they submit him to a polygraph test because, you see, Jamie had some issues with Billy and Billie Jean. One of the most important questions that they ask him in that polygraph test is, do you know who killed Billy and Billie Jean? Jamie says, no, absolutely not. And guess what? He's lying. From that point on, investigators think, this is it. We've got our man. Let's listen to this exchange.
I think you went in there. I'm going to take care of this situation. I'm going to take care of people messing with Janelle. People ain't going to mess with my girl no more.
She's not my girl.
You may say that out loud, but you know in your heart the difference. Were you the only person never killed?
I wasn't there.
Now, Jamie continues to maintain that he wasn't there at all. And then he asks a question that leaves the detectives, and myself, frankly, absolutely scratching their head.
Is the CIA here?
CIA?
No.
No.
I mean, how strange that you're being questioned in a small town murder, a tiny town murder, and you ask about the CIA? The TBI, maybe. The FBI, if you're super paranoid. But the CIA, they handle foreign intelligence. So what in the world is really going on here? Police obviously need some clarification on this very random question.
Why did you ask about the CIA?
Because he says he works for him.
I'm sorry, who says they work for them? Well, apparently, in this already weird plot of social media feuds and jealous lovers and murder, someone claiming to work for the CIA named Chris has been messaging Janelle's man, Jamie, and telling him that he was sent to protect Janelle from her enemies and that he was going by Billy's house. Now, I am not sure who in the world would be believing this tomfoolery, but apparently Jamie Curd did. Or did he? Because after all this random exchange and talk of the CIA being some sort of shield for the ever-important Janelle Potter of Mountain City, Tennessee, he finally breaks down and tells the police who he says really pulled the trigger. None other than Buddy, Janelle's dad. Buddy, who was on oxygen, and Buddy, who was disabled. And does this even make sense? Well, after Jamie rats out his friend Buddy, he also agrees to help police by making a recorded phone call to Buddy himself. Take a listen to this.
Well, they're pointing fingers.
Oh, gee, Merry Christmas.
You got rid of everything because from good, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
Okay. That makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds pretty damning, right? But here's my issue with this. Did you get rid of everything is not a solid confession. Now, the relationship between Marvin Buddy Potter and his daughter Janelle Potter was often described as unusually close and heavily influential, shaped by isolation and a shared worldview that outsiders really struggled to understand. Buddy had a background in the U.S. military, having served in the Navy. But over time, he also became known for making extraordinary claims about his past, including alleged ties to intelligence work. Now, those claims were never substantiated, but they did become part of the narrative that surrounded the family and the way they interpreted outside interactions and perceived threats. Inside the household, investigators and testimony would later suggest that Buddy played a central role in shaping Janelle's understanding of the world. It formed part of the broader backdrop that investigators examined as they tried their hardest to understand how in the world an online conflict escalated so intensely and why perceived threats were taken so seriously. In that context, Buddy's history, both confirmed and claimed, became one more piece in a complicated and deeply unconventional family structure that sat at the center of this investigation. Janelle was his little girl. Had he just taken out the perceived threat against her? So police bring Buddy in for questioning, and it went as expected. Denial at first.
You know why you're here, right?
That somebody's told you I'm the one who killed somebody. I'm not going to tell you I did something I didn't do.
So police switch up their tactics.
Are you a cold-hearted killer? Protector of your family. Which one are you?
I'm a protector of my family to start with, but I did not do this.
I believe you are sick and tired of the most precious person in your life being attacked and harassed constantly. I know that. Okay?
Ever since all this crap started, I've had my life threatened. My wife has been threatened. They've threatened to take Janelle, cut her head off.
Eventually, Buddy breaks.
When you hear people plotting to catch your daughter in a restroom and murder her, they wanted to rape her because she's a virgin. And just so much.
My question I got right now. It's Janelle Barker know what you did. You know.
Now, this is just about as close as you can get to a confession. He's crying. He's feeling emotional. He's saying his wife, Barbara, and his daughter, Janelle, have absolutely no clue what he's done. And then he wants to call Barbara, so police oblige.
Barbara,
Yeah.
before you find out from somebody else, I want you to know I was involved in it, and I did it.
What?
Some of it.
Okay, so I did it, some of it, involved in it. Tell me more, buddy, because this is still weird to me. Now, like a good wife, Barbara says he has an alibi. So the circus continues. Why in the world would Buddy confess to something he didn't do? Make it make sense. Barbara has her own theories as to why he did that.
When they took him, they took no oxygen. They took no medication. And they interviewed him for hours. And when his oxygen gets low, he says things that don't make sense or are incorrect.
So, what is really going on here? Police have enough at this point to get a search warrant. And inside the Mountain City home, they find guns. Okay, not illegal to have, obviously, but the sheer number of weapons was a little surprising. Over 60 different guns. I mean, what in the world anybody needs that many for? I'm not sure, but to each their own, I guess. And as they continue to search through the home, they find something pretty unusual. Pictures. Pictures of Billy and Billie Jean that had been printed out of them that were in the living room of the Potters. Even more strange, sweet old Barbara, Janelle's mom, is caught ripping those pictures in half, trying to get rid of them. Police tell her, stop, hand me those pictures, do not destroy any more evidence. Now, at this point, Barb is not looking so hot in all of this for me. But maybe she's just trying to protect her husband. We'll chalk it up to that. Of course, police also seize the computer that Janelle spends most of her time on. I mean, that's understandable since there had been this petty drama between her and the deceased couple. They also seize Buddy's truck since he had confessed to the crime. Maybe they can find traces of the victim's DNA, other evidence pertinent to the crime, and when they open the tailgate, they hit pay dirt. Trash bags, full to the brim. Not with bloody clothing or anything like that. It's bags full of shredded documents. Now, I would not want to be the agent in charge of putting all those documents back together piece by piece, but after 1 month of working on it, the job was complete. And when they read the reconstructed documents, at least 100 pages of them, by the way, it was none other than emails from Chris, of course. Remember the CIA agent in charge of protecting Janelle? Now, these emails talked about how there was intel that Billy and Billie Jean were plotting and planning the murder of Janelle. So who in the world is this Chris guy anyway? Just this knight in shining armor CIA agent swooping into Mountain City to save this random chick? How does he even know Janelle? His communications, though, are apparently with Barbara, Janelle's mom. And again, she's believing and buying into all this. I cannot even with these people. Now, Barbara says that Chris has been watching Billy and Billie Jean like a hawk, but there's just one problem. Remember, the police seized that computer from the Potters' living room. Well, it turns out that CIA Chris was somehow emailing from inside Buddy and Barbara's home computer. I mean, he must be one heck of a secret agent to be emailing from their own living room without ever being detected, right? As investigators continue on with their case, they find that it isn't just built on this physical evidence alone, like the weapons or the documents or the pictures that were printed out, but it was built on a growing digital footprint that kept circling back to none other than Janelle Potter. Is Barbara that naive? Well, Barbara's communications with Chris show that she's not exactly an innocent bystander. In one of the messages, Barbara even says to Chris, "We don't want to kill anyone, but we will if we have to." So now the police bring in Barbara and Janelle for questioning because, frankly, neither one of them are looking good. Now, Barbara is buying into all this crap and ready to take action, and sweet little innocent Janelle is the one playing puppet master to everyone around her with these fake online personas. And when police bring Janelle in and check her phone, they find even more. Messages to her sweetheart Jamie telling him that her dad, Buddy, is on the way to get him and to text her as soon as they get back. Even more weird, these texts were on the morning that the murders occurred. Now, with this, police feel that things are coming together more and more. So they charge Barbara, Janelle, Buddy, and Jamie. Now, Jamie took himself a plea deal for 25 years, so they're done with him. Now they're left to deal with the family affairs of the Potters. Now, listen, my family is crazy, y'all. I mean, most families have a little dysfunction, but this one makes mine, and I'm sure a lot of y'all's, feel totally normal. You have a dad and mom who still have their daughter living at home in her mid to late 20s, and that's fine, okay? But it's not only that, it's the fact that they're monitoring her every move and refuse to let her have free reign even over her own social media or telephone, or at least they thought. And you have a total nut job who is obsessing over another man while convincing her secret boyfriend and her mom and dad that she is being threatened and has a secret CIA guardian angel. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So, 3 years after the murders, it's finally time for court for Barbara and Janelle. The prosecution shows how there are consistencies throughout several of the emails, messages, threats, etc., that have the same language patterns and misspellings that are commonly used by Janelle. So her intellectual shortcomings caught up with her. Now, the defense, oddly, grabs onto that. They take hold and say, hey, you know what? You're right. What you said. Intellectual shortcomings. Janelle never could have done this because she has the mentality of an 8-year-old. Basically, she's too dumb to have done this. Child, please. Get out of here with that. The defense then hones in on Buddy. They say it's not Janelle's fault that her overprotective dad killed for her. And the prosecution really does kind of have a problem here with their evidence because can they really prove that Janelle was the one creating the accounts, sending the emails, sending the messages, and not someone else in the household? I mean, it is circumstantial. But the jury came through. They had heard enough. Janelle and Barbara and Buddy were all convicted of first-degree premeditated murder. They said just lock them all up and let the jail sort it out. Now, neither Barbara or Janelle testified in court, but they did sit down to answer some questions in an interview once the trial was over. And Barbara, well, she had some things to say. That email to Chris where she was saying she would kill if she has to, Barbara said, absolutely not. That was not me. There was another piece of evidence pointing to Barbara's involvement, and it was an article by Billy Graham titled, Can God Forgive a Murderer? It was a link that she had apparently emailed herself. Or did she? Because Barbara said, no, sir, I did not email that to myself. There's a twist. So that brings up the question of, did Janelle log into her mom's email and send those emails to her mother's account and respond to Chris, the CIA agent's emails to implicate her mother as part of this to further and try to remove herself? I mean, this is nuts, y'all. Full on circus. And I'm glad they're not my monkeys. I mean, good grief. So Barbara sits down for this interview, and she is asked a question by this man, this interviewer, that she could not have seen coming. Take a listen.
Do you think if you passed that you'd go to heaven?
Yes, definitely. And with a clean conscience. I could die right now, and I would feel good about it. I would go. I love my daughter, I love my husband, but I would not sit here and lie for them.
You wouldn't take a hit for your daughter?
No, not me. I love her, but I'm not going to go serve life for her. No.
Now, I'll have to tell you, watching the interview, seeing how she responds, and watching her body language, I'm believing Barbara. He then speaks to Janelle and confronts her about some things.
Can God forgive your mother?
I'm sure.
What about you?
I didn't murder anyone.
You don't have any responsibility for the murder of Billy Payne, Billie Jean.
No.
None.
No.
No, but you hated them after
I
time
didn't
again and
hate
again.
them, I just disliked them.
You hated them enough to tell your father that they were really torturing you. And you must have hated them if what you say is true, that they were harassing you time after time again and again.
I didn't hate them, I just disliked them. I wanted to quit. I wanted the harassment to stop. I went through a lot with them, but I never wished them dead. I never wanted them dead.
And then, cue the tears. The fake tears, anyway. But the interviewer isn't done. He continues to push, looking for answers. He confronts her about being Chris and inventing all these problems on her own online. Janelle denies, and then whines and cries and says, I can't do this anymore. So her attorney ends the interview. So there you have it. Mom, dad, and daughter all in jail from some elaborate social media scheme that their overly coddled daughter came up with. Will Janelle ever admit the truth? Not likely. Dad's taken responsibility for all of it. But what we do know is that someone with regular access to that family computer is the mastermind behind all of this. And my money is for sure on Janelle. Now, after their convictions, Janelle Potter and Barbara Potter also argued that there was a conflict of interest tied to how the defense was handled across the family, specifically involving the attorney representing Buddy Potter. They claimed that because Buddy had his own legal representation, and because all three were connected to the same case, there were competing interests that could have affected how their defenses were presented. In simple terms, they argued that what may have helped one defendant could have really hurt another, and that those differences weren't fully separated or addressed in the way that they should have been. Their concern was that this overlap may have limited how aggressively certain arguments were made or what strategies were used, especially if those strategies could have shifted blame or responsibility between family members. Now, the courts reviewed this claim during post-conviction proceedings, but ultimately did not find that a true legal conflict had been proven in a way that would have affected the outcome of the trial. Because of that, this argument, like the others, was not enough to grant them new trials. Now, for a long time, Janelle didn't look like the center of anything. On the surface, Janelle didn't fit the image that most people associate with a violent crime. She appeared quiet, withdrawn, someone much more likely to be overlooked than feared. But what investigators uncovered told a far more complicated story. Much of this case lived in conversations and messages and claims and narratives that grew over time. Evidence presented at trial showed how these exchanges weren't just emotional, they were influential. Ideas were repeated and reinforced and shaped into something that felt real enough for someone to act on. What may have begun as conflict and perceived slights became something much heavier, where fear and grievance were amplified and shared. And that's where the disconnect lies. Because while she may not have been the one who physically carried out the violence and pulled the trigger, prosecutors argued that the jury ultimately agreed that she did play a significant role in what led to it. The manipulation wasn't loud or obvious, it was gradual, built through words, through belief, through a version of reality that gained momentum the more it was fed. And what happened to Billy Payne and Billie Jean Hayworth was direct and brutal. They were shot inside their own home, targeted with no chance to defend themselves. And a child was left alive in the aftermath, placed in another room as the violence unfolded just steps away. It's a contrast that lingers. The quiet exterior and the role hidden behind it. The messages and the consequences that they carried. Because sometimes the most unsettling part of a case is not just how it ends. It's realizing how easily the person at the center of it can be mistaken for someone who could never be there at all. This episode, Message to Murder, was written and hosted by me, Tiffany Morgan, and produced by Christian Weeder at Main Street Media. Background music and theme song by John T. Productions. Research support from ABC 2020, Court Reports, and WJHL.com. This finale was brought to you by the wonderful folks at Jones & Co. Real Estate. If you're buying or selling a home, come visit us at 304 Mulligan Street or give us a call at 931-474-2020. There is a wonderful team of qualified and friendly realtors ready to go to work for you. And if you'd like to sponsor an episode, we would love to partner with you. Our sponsors keep our shows funded and running. To support Tennessee True Crime, follow us on Facebook at Tennessee True Crime or Instagram at TN True Crime. We are also now on Spotify and most other streaming platforms, so give us a follow, listen, and please leave a rating. If you have a case that you're interested in me covering, please feel free to email me at tntruecrime@mainstreetmedia.llc or reach out to me directly on any of those social media platforms. I have started having people reach out to me, whether it's to request case coverage, give feedback, just introduce themselves, or tell me they're a listener, and I truly love it. It is a pleasure and an honor to talk with each of you. I am currently working on some of your cases, and I really appreciate the emails and the communication and the help that you're giving me to tell your family member's story with honor. Because here in Tennessee, we don't ever stop telling the stories that matter. And some secrets we refuse to let stay buried. Tune in next time on Tennessee True Crime.
Down through the smoky hollers where the cold wind sighs, footsteps fall where the moonlight hides, whispers over rivers, a secret lost in time. Welcome to Tennessee True Crime. Dark tales in the mountains where the mist won't lie, echoes Hear the hush of memory, the voice of the unsaid. This is Tennessee true crime, where the shadows trail.